with the rock never stops. Uh, I want to do this video because I've had some stuff on the backlog for a while. Just videos I wanted to do, different ideas. And this is one that has intrigued me for a minute because I feel like there's been a lot of discussion, really, if I'm honest with you, from people who are not following the team because some of the arguments are just very base. It's just very casual, as if you can't see obvious solutions to some of the questions that you're posing. But I want to dive into how Jaden Ivey and Asara Thompson fit together in the starting lineup for the Detroit Pistons next season. If you enjoyed the video, smash the like button for me, hit subscribe and the bell for notifications. Definitely helps out the channel. And it tells the YouTube algorithm that you enjoy, one, supporting your everyday YouTuber who's just giving to you content out of their heart, out of the realness, out of the rawness, and not necessarily just for clickbaits. It also says that you enjoy doing interactive lives with me because I respond to your chats. So yeah, I hope you enjoy the video, but I want to dive right in. How does Jaden Ivey and Asar Thompson fit together? Well, let me just start off with saying, and this is the obvious. This is the obvious, right? Cade Cunningham was able to take this team to the number 6 seed in the playoffs with Tim Hardaway Jr., Asar Thompson, Tobias Harris, and Jalen Duren. Now you take Tim Hardaway Jr. out and you put Jaden Ivey in. You have more athleticism, more size, better defense, more efficient 3-point shooting on the same amount of volume, and far more dynamic offense and ability in transition. You add all the things that Jaden Ivey brings, and you say, if you were to have that in a starting lineup, they should be able to be successful, right? And this is kind of a simple argument because I feel like some of y'all, it's just weird that some of y'all don't see it. It's just weird. If it could work with Tim Hardaway Jr., it damn sure can work with Jaden Ivey. But that's neither here nor there. I want to dive into the details of what it could actually look like. Because I think a lot of people will, as the summer ensues and as training camp starts and summer league and all that, they're going to start asking themselves, what does it look like? What does it look like for this team to come together with these new players, essentially? And not that they're new to the team, but that they are new to starting together, right? Asar Thompson didn't get into the starting lineup until after Ivy's injury. So let's dive into it. The first thing, uh, what are the individual improvements we can expect for next season? I want to dive into that because what we saw from Ivy, we have to recognize that last season he was ascending. He was ascending from the beginning of the year to the time of his injury. He was becoming not necessarily more confident, but he was figuring out how to play with confidence alongside of Cade Cunningham. Remember the year before, Cade had been out. So it was just him running the show, right? And so all of a sudden now you have the reintroduction of Cade Cunningham, who just got the max extension, which kicks in next year. So Ivy had to figure out how to play alongside Cade Cunningham, and it took him time. But you saw what was happening was that at first people were like, well, they need to stagger the minutes, let one run the show while the other one's not in the game. And that kind of worked. But I kept saying for the long term outlook, he has to figure out what it looks like for him to play at a high level next to Cade Cunningham. Because in the playoffs, where your starters are going to be getting 38 to 42 or 45 minutes a game, you need these guys to have great chemistry, not just good chemistry, but great chemistry. And so one of the first things that I expect right off the bat is the confidence level that we saw Jaden Ivey with right before his injury, playing alongside Cade Cunningham. I think that's where he starts next season. I think that's where he picks up and he comes in and he's already locked in. And he's like, yep, I know what to do alongside of him. Cade knows what to do alongside of Ivy. They know how to get each other going. And so I expect a lot more confidence in their individual games and playing alongside of each other. When it comes to Asar Thompson, I think we see someone who is also equally confident. And I keep saying confidence because confidence is the is the biggest difference between the guy who is a good player and the guy who's a great player. There's plenty of athletic guys, there's plenty of guys who have a bag, but the confidence to perform at that level under the biggest stakes in the playoffs when all the lights are on you is confidence. That's the difference maker. That's the difference maker. I expect Asar and Ivy to come in next year with a peak confidence, coming in ready to go, coming in understanding how to play off of Cade Cunningham. I think the challenge will be, and I'm going to get to this later, probably at the end, how do they bring it all together? I think what we also see is uh, a greater understanding of how they're going to get their shots, how they're going to play efficiently alongside of each other. Now, I said in a previous live about this team is going to look drastically different next season because the talents that they're trying to incorporate are so tremendous that it's going to take them time to figure out what it looks like alongside of each other. What's going on, Kenny? What's good? I hope they're working on their mid-range jump shots this summer. You know what? I'm gonna be honest. I don't think that that's necessarily what they need to work on. I honestly don't. I mean, it would be great, but I don't think that that is the first thing that needs to progress for them to play at a high level next season. Asar Thompson needs to work on his finishing around the rim. That's probably a primary area where when he's able to get downhill, he knows how to get to different shots. Because we saw flashes all last year and the year before, whether it was the um, dribble to the basket, come across the lane, and kind of little fadeaway jump shot from about 5 or 10 feet out, whether it was that Rip Hamilton money spot. Yeah, whether it was the post ups against guys like Jalen Brunson, drop step, jump hook, whether it was getting to the rim and using different angles, finishing off the glass with the left and the right, whether it was knowing what to do when you have different defenders coming at you and how you're going to finish against a center when you're playing on the interior versus finishing over a guard, right? Maybe a little floater, right? All these different things. If Asar Thompson can master his finishing ability around the rim, I think that immediately catapults him into a player who's averaging 15 to 16 points a game at least. Like you have to recognize Amen Thompson, the bulk of his scoring was around the rim. It was not jump shots. And he was able to be by the end of the playoffs in the first round against the Golden State Warriors, he was their best player. So I don't think Asar needs to work on his jump shot for next season. He just needs to work on his finishing around the rim. Jaden Ivey, similarly, I think he needs to work on his finishing because I think it's difficult for players who have a lot of athleticism and speed getting downhill that when you meet other players who have a lot of athleticism at the rim, it's a rare meeting, right? There's very few athletes who are on their level, but when you do see another athlete on that level challenging you at the rim, it changes your trajectory a little bit, and you have to become accustomed to reading different angles and how you're going to finish off the glass, how you're going to finish around the rim, how you're going to draw the foul, right? How you can initiate contact and get that bump and finish. These are things that guys like SGA, Jalen Brunson, um, Halliburton, these guys have mastered when they're getting downhill to the rim, how to finish, right? How to ensure I either make the layup or I'm getting to the free throw line. That's what both Ivy and Asara need to work on. The next part of it is facilitating. I see a major shift for next season as Cade, Ivy, and Asar being the overwhelmingly dominant facilitators on this team. And when I say overwhelmingly dominant, I'm talking about each of them should be facilitating 20 to 30% of their team's possessions in total. In total. So in other words, if it's not Asar, it's Ivy. If it's not Ivy, it's Cade. If it's not Cade, it's Ivy or Asar. It bounces around to them as the primary initiators of offense. Those three, I want to see dominating the ball, like we see with Franz and Paulo, right? And those guys are pounding the air out of the ball, setting guys up, getting a lot of reps because when they get into the playoffs, once again, that's the core that we're going to need to be playing confidently with a lot of continuity and chemistry with one another so that they know where each other operates on the court and how to make the game easy for each other. I fully expect them to be dominating the ball as they should because they're each elite talents. When Marcus Sasser comes in, he should be playing off of those guys. I want to see, if I'm honest, Marcus Sasser in that Malik Beasley role, where he's catching and shooting, coming off of pin downs, catch, pump fake, attack a closeout, get to the rim, a little pull up, a little floater, right? Maybe kick out for that secondary assist, right? But the primary initiators should be Cade, Asar, and Ivy. All right. So those one of the major transitions. But once again, if it's your first time in this chat with me in this live, these are interactive chats. So if you have thoughts, please throw them down in the chat. I'll definitely try to get to them. If it gets to be too many in the chat, you can send me a super chat and I'll stop and pause and talk about it. Otherwise, also smash the like button for me. I appreciate y'all. The next thing I want to talk about is probably the most important aspect. Uh, well, not yet. I'm going to get to that. That's going to be the defense. I want to stick with the offense right now. I think one of the major aspects of the Detroit Pistons offense for next season, when you look at Cade, Ivy Asar with Tobias Harris and Jalen Duren, is I fully expect for them to be in full transition mode. They're going to look like potentially the Indiana Pacers, where they're taking that ball out, whether it's a made or missed shot, and they're jetting down the court. They're trying to generate easy and early offense because it's going to take them so long. Literally, I probably would say probably about half a season before they really start to gel. Because remember, they're not catching teams off guard anymore. Teams see them coming. Teams are going to be putting a target on their back, saying we need to overcome the Pistons, the Miami Heat, the Atlanta Hawks, the Orlando Magic, right? The teams that were beneath them in the playoff rankings, right? You got teams like the who else is out there that's probably worthwhile mentioning? The Toronto Raptors, right? They're all going to be looking at the Detroit Pistons like we need to leapfrog them because remember the Detroit Pistons were the sixth seed, right? The one position out of the play-in where everyone is trying to get to at least. So they're going to have a target on their back. It's going to take them a while before they're able to really gel with this new offense, playing with each other because of how much defensive energy and attention teams are going to be giving them. That's going to be an adjustment in and of itself, that they're going to go from the hunter to the hunted. And so I expect that to have its own learning curve. All that's to say is that means they have to figure out how to generate easy offense. And that looks like getting out in transition, utilizing their speed, utilizing their athleticism with Ivy and Asar on the wings, Cade Cunningham's shooting ability, Ivy's shooting ability, Cade's ability to get downhill, running early pick and rolls with Jalen Duren. I expect to see all these things happening in early offense for the Detroit Pistons. And that should be 100% a focus of their offense. The next part of it, yeah, is going to be less heroics and dependency on Cade Cunningham. And this is going to be tough. I think it's going to be tough because Cade is used to being ball dominant. He's used to having a lot on his shoulders, especially in the playoffs. But I think what we saw was how much that weighed on him. By the end of that playoff series, his legs were almost done. His legs were, I mean, you could just, all his shots were flat and short or long. And that's an indication of your legs. And when I say your legs, I'm saying that cardio wise, getting up and down the court, moving from side to side, boxing out for rebounds. Remember, he's averaging almost a triple double in the playoffs. That type of effort every single game, along with playing great defense, especially on the perimeter against Brunson and against Hart and Mikal Bridges and OG Ananobi, that took its toll on Cade. What we need to see next season is a shared distribution of labor on offense. And that's also going to mean Cade Cunningham taking a step back. He's got to let Ivy and Asar run point more. And I would say this consistently throughout the end of the season into the playoff, where there were opportunities for Cade to push the ball up ahead to Asar on a fast break after a made shot. He'd get the ball, it's headed up a sideline, and Asar Thompson is running up ahead of him, already across half court, wide open. The defender is in the paint or beneath the 3-point line. And instead of passing it up ahead, trusting him with the ball, and then Cade going into secondary action, he holds the ball and he brings it up himself. and then Asar is just sitting there and he's waiting. Cade's going to have to give that ball up. Cade's going to have to give that ball up, and he's going to have to relinquish possessions to Ivy and Asar. Now, they're also going to have to take possessions. They're also going to have to call for the ball, demand the ball from Cade. They're going to have to get that rebound and not just quickly pass it up to Cade. But I do think that in a part of their transition offense, that's how they need to function with each other. If someone gets the rebound, they should be looking ahead to Ivy, Asar, Cade Cunningham, whoever is already up court, pushing in transition, looking to get early opportunities instead of holding the ball and bringing it up and setting up against a set defense. Now, the most important thing that I think is going to change next season is on the defensive end. But let me get to some of these comments first. Stefan B, what's good, man? I don't know if I seen you in my chat before, but it's good to have you. Thank you for the comment. Hope you smash the like button. I really like what I saw when Asar handled the ball last season. I hope it starts happening regularly. Also lightens the load for Cade. That is precisely what I'm talking about, bro. It's precisely what I'm talking about. I liked what I saw as well. His ability to get downhill while also remaining under control. He was able to facilitate the ball well and get the ball where it needed to be, but it was also a quality pass. It wasn't an errant pass. It wasn't like he was just trying to pound the air out of the ball like a Jordan Poole might have with the Golden State Warriors. He was actually looking for his teammates. And as guys got open, he was finding them with quality passes. That is a great sign for somebody who can initiate offense. I loved what I saw. I also loved seeing his ability to get downhill to the rim. When Asar Thompson was attacking that rim, it forced the defense to collapse, and that created openings for others. There were like minimal moments, like really quick moments where you would see Cade on the opposite wing and Asar Thompson pushing the ball up the court, and then he attacks the basket, and it actually would draw the defender away from Cade, and then he's kicking it out to either Cade or Tim Hardaway Jr., which is now going to be Jaden Ivey, who shot on the same volume as Tim Hardaway Jr. at a higher efficiency. So now you got two shooters on the weak side when Asara Thompson is attacking the rim. I think this is a great opportunity for Cade and Ivy to get wide open threes, which is going to increase their overall team 3-point efficiency and really negate a lot of this narrative that came from the year before that they didn't have shooting. I said all last season, yeah, they need some more quality shooters just for depth, but between Ivy and Cade, they have shooting. Tobias Harris is shooting. What they needed was better quality 3-point shots. Taking threes off the bounce, off that pick and roll, somebody going underneath, or the dribble handoffs, and you take 2, 3 dribbles, and then now you're taking a dribble step back, right? That's a harder three than a catch and shoot wide open on the weak side because somebody was able to collapse the defense and create for you. That's what I'm anticipating Cade, Ivy, and Asar doing for one another, especially when Asar is the initiator of offense. Get to some of these other comments. Um, yeah, control is probably most key for Asar this offseason. Proper use of his speed and athleticism while remaining in control. Completely. Completely. And I think that a lot of that was also due to he didn't have an offseason. He didn't have a chance to really work on his game, to really refine his skill handling the ball and getting down court, and initiating offense and utilizing his different skills and talents. He was figuring out in real time. In real time, like we've seen his workout videos of him working on his handle. It's not that he doesn't have a handle. He's got a really nice handle, strong handle, in fact. It's just that putting it all together in real time throughout the game, in real games, is going to be difficult when you haven't had reps of practice, when you haven't had reps of an offseason and training camp. And so I fully expect that to be something that's smoothed out. What I also want to see smoothed out is his finishing around the rim. But that's a great point, Stefan. Um, the most important aspect is going to be on the defensive end, though. Ivy and Asar, their placement in the starting lineup together should completely ramp up the Detroit Pistons defense. It should be outright elite. It should be honestly top 10. There's absolutely no reason that if you put Jaden Ivey at the point of attack on defense, that he's not able to smother most ball handlers, considering he's 6'5" in shoes, right? 6'4" without, but 6'5" and a little bit of change with shoes on, because everybody plays with shoes, right? Um, 6'9" wingspan, but tremendous athleticism, and a great motor and competitiveness. There's no reason why he can't smother most offensive initiators, especially when you have a lot of offensive initiators that really aren't that good, right? You had Tyus Jones in Phoenix, you had Mike Conley in in Minnesota, you had let me see, D'Angelo Russell in Brooklyn, even like Derek White in Boston, right? That's not an intimidating offensive initiator. That we don't really have too many of the Derrick Roses and the Russell Westbrooks any longer, where you have to really like back off them and be worried about their ability to get downhill. Most of these guys, even like a Jalen Brunson, you can crowd. You probably should crowd Jalen Brunson, in fact, Tyrese Halliburton, and especially when you have wing defenders like Cade and Asar. And this is where I really want to emphasize this. With Jaden Ivey as a point of attack defender, and Cade Cunningham and Asar Thompson on the wings, you have the ability to smother a team's perimeter offense. Those initial initiations of offense, kicking it to the wing, getting that guy going, and starting your action, you can negate a lot of that with those two. And considering that Jalen Duren upped his defense in the playoffs, you begin to see that this team has a lot of length and athleticism and speed on the court within that starting lineup, and they should fully be able to start pressuring teams in a way that stymies most of these teams' defense. But the reason that I want to point out that this is so important is because once again, it leads back into early offense. It leads back into the Detroit Pistons' ability to get easy shots. Because as I've been saying, to incorporate the tremendous talents of Jaden Ivey and Asar Thompson, along with Cade Cunningham and Jalen Duren in a starting lineup, means that it's going to take time for them to build chemistry. I think their talents complement each other extremely well, whether it's Pointasar Thompson and his ability to get downhill and facilitate and play make, whether it's Jaden Ivey's ability to knock down threes at a 40% clip while also being a blur on offense and getting downhill and dunking on guys, or Cade Cunningham's ability to operate in the mid range and the post and shoot threes. It all complements. And yet it's going to take them time to get accustomed to one another. It's going to take them time to, really say, hey, give me the ball. I haven't touched it in a while. Hey, you know what? I'm gonna set you up. Hey, Cade, give me the ball. You go set a screen, and we're gonna set this up to get you in the post against Jalen Brunson. Right? Each of them beginning to orient the offense to optimize the opportunities on the court. It's gonna take them a while. So early on, they're gonna have to focus on defense. They're gonna have to focus on turning teams over. And you saw just how much Asar Thompson was able to do that throughout the season with his defensive versatility to guard 1 through 4 and sometimes 1 through 5. Now you put Jaden Ivey with his athleticism and motor at the point of attack. You now have somebody who can pressure at the point of attack, creating even more opportunities for Asar and Cade to get into those passing lanes and create early offense. Now, here's the other part of it. And I'm taking my notes here. Um, the next part that they're going to have to focus on is mismatch hunting. Mismatch hunting. I know some of y'all may or may not know what I'm talking about, but it's something that you see guys like LeBron, Chris Paul, they do second nature. They find the mismatch. They find the easy opportunity to score that puts the other team's defense at a disadvantage, that forces them to have to adjust, or you get the most efficient shot, which means, hey, if Jalen Brunson is guarding Cade Cunningham, someone else needs to come get the ball so that Cade Cunningham can run straight to the block. And then they can post up Jalen Brunson. Cade Cunningham should not have Jalen Brunson on him and then have to hold the ball at the top of the key and try to go one on one. That's not efficient or effective offense, because it takes a lot of energy to bring the ball up, wait for the offense to set up, to give you space to operate, and then when the defense is staring at you, and focused on you, now you're trying to create, because now it's no longer one on one. Now it's one on five because everyone's focused on you. Well, when you're mismatch hunting, and between Cade, Asar, and Ivy, you begin to recognize who has the mismatch, whether it's Asar, whether it's Ivy. You have a big on Ivy, have a big on Asar, right? And we need to clear out, or we need to set a screen. We want to get a certain look or certain action, right? These guys are going to have to start becoming more locked in to what is the advantage that we have on the court and what are we trying to run or go to versus I know I can just take over on my own. That's not effective offense. Sometimes it's needed and necessary. Down the stretch of close games, sometimes in the playoffs against a great defense. But for the most part, you don't want to depend upon your one on one shot creation. Many times I judge how a game is going to go based upon how soon a team goes to their one on one shot creation. Sorry, the Harleys out here. If a team is trying to if a team is trying to create one on one at the beginning of a game, it's a bad sign. It's a bad sign. If a team is having guys go one on one, trying to get to the basket, create their own shot, and it's the first quarter, it's a bad sign. It means that they're not actually running their system. They're not maximizing their ability to efficient offense and to get guys involved. That means one guy's touching the ball and the shot's going up. Other guys are getting cold, just sitting around watching versus moving the ball around two, three, four, five times, forcing the defense to go side to side. And then now you find the mismatch and who has the best opportunity to score. That's efficient offense. That's what they're going to have to learn how to incorporate and to figure out on a game to game basis. So mismatch hunting is going to have to be a foundation and a fundamental part of this team's offense moving forward. The next part of it is also going to be being patient. I know this is probably the hardest thing for young players is patience. It's hard as hell. Because I mean, if you're as athletic as Jaden Ivey and Asar Thompson, it's like, why the hell I gotta wait for anybody else? I could run ahead and skirt right past, and I think in many times they will. Many times you will. And they're also going to have to master observing the floor, the time situation in the game, right? Is it a close game? Are we up? Are we down? What are we needing? Who needs to touch the ball? Who hasn't touched the ball? And then saying what gives us the greatest advantage in this moment. Now, if it's in transition off of a steal or rebound, go for it. I ain't tripping, right? Unless the defense has gotten back and it's 2 on 4, okay. And sometimes even then you're going to have an advantage because of your speed with Ivy and Asar and even Cade or Duran on the trail or something like that. But it's to say in the half court, you're going to have to be patient enough to run your sets, to look for certain actions. Don't forget about Jalen Duran, incorporating him in the dribble handoff game or the pick and rolls in some early offense, right? They're going to have to be patient enough to begin to develop the reps that they're going to need. Because remember, I keep saying their championship window doesn't begin next year, it's going to be the year after. I actually think that next year you're going to see more of a plateau, not in terms of their growth, but in terms of the win outcome because they're going from the hunter to the hunted. They're coming back into an Eastern Conference that's going to be healthy, which means stronger, right? Philly will be healthy. Atlanta will be healthy. Orlando will be healthy. Boston won't have Tatum, but they'll have a healthy Brown who's coming off the partially torn meniscus, right? And a healthy Kristaps Porzingis. You'll also have a healthy Washington Wizards, a healthy Charlotte Hornets, right? So all these teams that are now healthy are going to present more of a challenge to a team that they're no longer taking for granted, to a Detroit Pistons that they're no longer looking past, and they're now hunting them. So I think there's going to be a learning curve to dealing with that much attention and competition game in and game out. So I fully expect next year there's going to be a learning curve early in the season. I think they'll find their stride midway to the end and finish strong. Dwayne Pritchett, what's good, my man? Asar needs to get stronger. He falls too easily and still has a high school body. A, a high school body? All right, so correct me if I'm wrong. Asar Thompson is about 220 plus pounds. at 6'7", 7 foot wingspan. I wouldn't say his body is underdeveloped. I do think he'll get bigger. I do think he'll get better. I think at his peak he'll be somewhere around 230 pounds. But I don't think he needs to necessarily get bigger. I think what he shows is a lack of repetition and utilizing skill with his speed. Like he's figuring out his own speed, right? How to control it. And I think that he'll figure that out over this offseason. But I don't think that he needs to necessarily get a lot stronger because I want to see him flying up and down the court. I don't see him as a front court player as much as I see him as a wing who can play in the front court. So I don't necessarily need him to get bigger or that much stronger. But that's a good point, though. That's a good thought. I think when it all kind of comes down to, though, will be JB Bickerstaff. Can JB Bickerstaff put it all together for them? That's going to be a major question. Can JB uh, help this team to figure out how to incorporate each one's talent? Can he create an offensive system scheme, or is he merely a systems coach? And I look at the difference between someone like a Mike Budenholzer and a Tyron Lue, right? Tyron Lue continues to morph and change based upon the talent on his team. He continues to figure out how to incorporate different guys based upon who he has. And he creates a system that maximizes the talent he has. You have other coaches like Mike Budenholzer who looks to fit players into the system that he believes in and has mastered. I think the former is better than the latter, especially with what these talents are going to bring for the Detroit Pistons. Let me get to this comment here. Prototype, yo, what's good? I don't think I've seen you in my chats before, but it's good to have you. Hope you smash the like button for me. How much better of a player do you think that Asar will be if he had a consistent mid-range jumper? I would love to hear your opinion. Um, I think he'll be a lot better player. I don't think that that's the first step for him, though. I think the first step is his finishing around the rim. I think there were a lot of times he drove to the basket and didn't know what to do, didn't know what shot to kind of go for, didn't know necessarily how to finish in different circumstances and situations. You saw even in the playoffs, he would cut along the baseline, catch, and then he would pause because Towns or Mitchell Robinson was flying over and he didn't know how to give that quick little pump fake or throw his body in and then get the shot up. He just didn't know in real time how to apply himself in different situations to be able to finish around the rim, whether it was finishing with the offhand, jump hook, and a post up, right? A lot of stuff he was just doing instinctually um, and kind of intuitively instead of with a level of intentionality because he's practiced it over and over. I think his improved finishing around the rim, we get a season that looks a lot like Amen Thompson from last year, where he's getting downhill constantly at will and getting to the rim. Sports Times was good, my man. Yeah, Sarah hesitates a lot. He does. He gets around the rim, and if he doesn't immediately go to something, he's now trying to process in real time. What should I do right now? And many times he ends up just kicking the ball back out, which is not a wrong thing. It's just a missed opportunity. I think as he develops his ability to finish around the rim, he'll know exactly what he's doing. And I think that that was a major difference in what we saw from Asar and Amen Thompson. Asar is actually a little bit bigger, physically bigger than Amen Thompson. Amen Thompson a little bit, tiny bit more athletic. You know, he's like the 0.1%, where Asar is the 1%. Um, but it's to say that uh, I think he's going to have the ability. I just think he needs to refine it. Um, but the major question for me is, can JB Bickerstaff do it? Can he create a system that is for these guys, not trying to fit them into last year? Because trying to have Jaden Ivey play like Tim Hardaway Jr., I think would be remiss to the dynamic offensive ability that Jaden Ivey has. Having Asar Thompson play without the ball as much as he did last season for the bulk of the season, I think would be remiss and a missed opportunity for just how dynamic and talented Asar Thompson is. And so, how do you develop a system? That's what JB Bickerstaff is going to have to figure out. How do I develop a system and instituting a training camp so that these guys can step in and maximize their talents with one another? because I do believe fully that Jaden Ivey, Cade Cunningham, and Asar Thompson complement each other, and Jalen Duran complement each other very well. They're just big talents. They're really big talents. It's almost like when you saw Westbrook and Harden and Durant. They complemented each other extremely well. They just also happen to be really big talents. D Wade, LeBron, Chris Bosh, really big talents. It's going to take time for them to put it together, but you're going to need a system. If I'm JB Bickerstaff, if I'm honest with you, what I would do is have a preseason, not a preseason. I would do a training camp that's in another country somewhere where you can bond, just bond. Like go to, I'm not gonna say South America or something like that, but go to I don't know, Canada. Go to uh I don't know, go to Hawaii, right? Teams love to go to Hawaii. Go rent out a school, get you a nice 5-star hotel, and you guys just bond. You guys just bond. Shoot, I would love to see, Asar Thompson and Isaiah Stewart. Their family is from Jamaica. You know where my family's from, right? Go to Jamaica for your training camp. Stay in a 5-star hotel. Have a local gym, full size gym that's got all the bells and whistles. Um, and spend your training camp down there, bonding with each other, right? Exploring the island, doing fun stuff, swimming in the ocean, but build a bond because that bond, that's what allows you to make adjustments in real time. That's what allows you to not trip over somebody messing up and worried about stepping on each other's toes. You got to build chemistry. You got to build continuity. Which is another reason why I don't necessarily want this front office to bring in another major talent that they're going to have to incorporate. I don't want them to bring in a Jaron Jackson Jr. who's an all-star defensive player of the year who's fixing to get this massive contract soon and they have to figure out how to make space for him on top of their own game. Right? Like that's a lot to put on a young roster that remember these guys are only 22, 23 years old. Jalen Duran's still only 21. Right? And so I'd rather have them focus on this internal development. I think that that's also what Trajan Langdon said he wanted to focus on as well. Get to some of these comments. Where do you think Asar ranks in best perimeter defenders in the league? I think he's top 10. Facts. I think he's right there with Alex Caruso, Dort, um, Amen Thompson. I think he's right there. Those guys have a unique blend of physical strength, quickness, anticipation, athleticism, and a physicality, and also a motor to play defense at such a high level. It's just really rare. Most guys that play that hard on defense aren't that athletic, aren't that strong, aren't that skilled, aren't that quick, right? Those guys usually just reserve their games for just offense. But these guys love defense. Now, Crusoe and Lewins Dort are a little bit more limited offensively, but it's rare to see an Amen Thompson level athlete be so dedicated on defense. And I think it allows them to perform at a level of the elite of the elite on defense. So I would say he's top 5 in terms of perimeter defender. Yeah, I might say top 5. I'm trying to think who's a better perimeter defender outright outside of maybe like a Caruso and his brother Amen Thompson. I think he's probably top 5. I don't know too many others that I would say are definitely better than him defensively. Let me see. Some of these comments here. Okay, they rolling in. I think Cade would be very good too, running off screens and play make from that spot. Yes, bro, Dwayne, man, my man. Is exactly what I was pointing out before. That I think that Cade Cunningham is going to have to allow Asar and Ivy to run that point more, where he can play off the ball because he's so dynamic off the ball. He's so effective off the ball when he's on the move, and the defense has to shift towards him versus being focused on him from the very beginning. Yes, he's a great facilitator. He can get you 10 plus assists a game. did a great job facilitating for us this year. And at the same time, I think when he's off the ball, he catches the defense off guard and he has an opportunity to go right into his shot or right into playmaking without having to deal with all five defensive players' eyes on him. So definitely playing him more off the ball. I think it's also going to improve his 3-point efficiency playing off the ball. Stefan B was good. I know we're talking to Sar and Ivy, but I think how they both play off Duran and how he's utilized will be really important. Duran video coming soon. Duran video coming soon. There is an unlocking that I want to see that they eventually do with him. He's very skilled. I want to see him playing far more like Alper and Shangoon. Right? He doesn't need the same level of usage because I think they have far more talent than Houston. Cade is far better than Jalen Green, and the Amin Thompson is on par with Amin Thompson. But it's to say that Tobias Harris is a better supportive veteran than I would say Dylan Brooks. Uh, and he just has more pieces around him. He's also far more athletic. But the play style, as aggressive as Alper and Shangoon is, I think that's how aggressive I would like to see Jalen Duren in the half court. Yeah, run the dribble handoffs, but bro, if you don't see a pass on the first handoff, the second handoff, you should be thinking face up and beat your man off the dribble, right? You should be more nights and more often than not, he should be calling his own number because of how much of a distinct advantage he has offensively when getting downhill, getting to the rim. He has an advantage in terms of footwork, strength, sheer strength, athleticism, length, 7'5" wingspan, or 7'5" or 7'6" wingspan, and his finishing ability around the rim. There's no reason why he should not be incredibly aggressive trying to attack his opposition, his matchup, right? I don't care if it's Porzingis, Clint Capella, Onyeka Kongwu, Al Horford, not Clint, Nicholas Claxton, right? I'm thinking about all his different matchups. Mark Williams, who is significantly better than him, right? Evan Mobley might be a little bit tough, but he's definitely stronger than him. You should be able to put him under the rim. Jarrett Allen, he's just as strong and mobile. He should be able to finish around him, but he's a somewhat good defender. You know, outside of maybe a healthy Joel Embiid and Giannis, I can't think of another center that I would not say he has a significant advantage over to creating his own shot and attacking the basket. And so I want to see a far more aggressive Duran. So a video is coming soon on Jalen Duran playing more aggressively and what it looks like to unlock him on this new starting lineup, new roster. But hey, I got to jump out of here. I got a comedy show to get to. I hope y'all enjoy your weekend. Appreciate y'all rocking with me for another live. If you haven't already, smash the like button for me. Hit subscribe and the bell for notifications. It lets the YouTube algorithm know you enjoy being notified when my live stream is online and you have a chance to interact with me throughout this conversation. I definitely try to respond to your chat messages. And if ever it gets too many, chat messages, send me a super chat, and we'll stop and talk about it. Other than that, I'm gonna get at y'all next time. Have a wonderful time. Stay safe. I'm gonna be out. Peace.